Have you ever walked away from a conversation, replaying it in your mind, wishing you had stayed calmer, stronger, or wiser in that moment? Maybe someone criticized you in front of others, and instead of holding your ground, you rushed to explain yourself. You told them why they were wrong, why you were right, and why they misunderstood you, yet the more you spoke, the weaker you felt. Your voice trembled, your heart raced, and deep inside, you knew you had given them something far more valuable than your words. You had given them your power. This is a pain many of us carry, though we rarely admit it. We defend ourselves not because we are guilty, but because we desperately want to be understood. We think, if I can just explain myself clearly, they will see my side. But does that ever really happen? More often, the opposite takes place. The more we justify, the more others doubt us. The more we argue, the smaller we appear. And once the moment is gone, we lie awake at night, replaying every word, wishing we had stayed silent, wishing we had been stronger. Think about how much energy this costs you. Every defense drains your confidence. Every explanation chips away at your dignity. You start to wonder, why do I always feel the need to prove myself? Why do I give away my peace just to convince someone who may never even care to understand? And perhaps the hardest question of all, what if I could have ended the attack without saying a single word? The truth is, millions of people live in this cycle. They try to protect their image by defending it, but in the process, they destroy the very respect they long for. What they do not realize is that strength is not found in arguing harder, speaking louder, or explaining longer. Strength is found in calmness, in silence, and in actions that speak louder than any defense ever could. Welcome to Fluent English with Radio. In today's video, we will explore why defending yourself is a trap, how silence can become your greatest weapon, and what steps you can take to build a presence so powerful that criticism no longer shakes you. Once you understand this, you will stop wasting energy on useless battles and start living with the confidence and respect you truly deserve. Why defending yourself is a mistake. When someone points a finger at you, the first instinct is almost automatic. You want to speak, you want to explain, you want to make sure everyone knows the truth. It feels like the only way to protect your image and hold on to your dignity. Yet, this reaction, as natural as it seems, often sets the stage for your own defeat. The problem is not that you want to be understood. Wanting to be seen for who you are is deeply human. The problem is that explaining yourself in moments of attack rarely earns you understanding. Instead, it signals weakness. When you defend yourself against criticism, you confirm that the attack is valid enough to deserve a response. In that moment, the other person has already succeeded in pulling you into their game. This is what we can call the trap of self-justification. It feels like freedom, but it is actually a cage. Imagine being accused of not working hard enough. Your first impulse may be to list all the hours you stayed late, all the projects you finished, and all the sacrifices you made. But as you talk, your accuser holds the power. They are silent while you are the one scrambling. They do not need to prove anything because you are too busy trying to prove everything. What was meant to defend your reputation actually erodes it. The Italian political thinker Niccolò Machiavelli wrote centuries ago, "He who excuses himself accuses himself." His words capture the essence of this trap. By defending yourself, you suggest that the accusation has merit. Even if you are right, the very act of arguing puts you in a weaker position. In the eyes of others, you appear as someone desperate for approval, someone shaken by judgment, someone who cannot stand in silence with confidence. Think about the psychological impact this has on you. Each time you rush to justify yourself, you tell your mind that other people's opinions define your worth. Over time, this creates anxiety. You become hypersensitive to criticism, scanning every room, every conversation, every facial expression for signs of disapproval. Instead of living with freedom, you live on the defensive, always ready to explain why you are not guilty. This constant state of alert drains your energy and keeps you from focusing on growth. The social consequences are just as damaging. When you explain yourself too often, people begin to see you as less reliable, not more. Colleagues may think, "Why does she always need to defend herself?" Friends may quietly conclude, "If he is always explaining, maybe he really does have something to hide." In leadership roles, this can be fatal. A leader who constantly defends loses credibility. People do not follow explanations, they follow presence, confidence, and action. At its core, defending yourself is about control, or rather, the loss of it. The moment you explain, you let the other person dictate the rules of the exchange. They throw out a claim, and you react. They set the frame, and you play inside it. You become a character in their story instead of the author of your own. And once you step into that frame, it is hard to step out without looking defensive, angry, or shaken. So what can you do instead? The first step is awareness. Notice the urge to explain and pause. Remind yourself that silence does not mean agreement. Calmness does not mean weakness. In fact, in many situations, it communicates strength far better than words ever could. History gives us countless examples of figures who understood this principle. Think of Abraham Lincoln, known for his calm restraint. He once said, "Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt." He recognized that silence often preserves authority more than endless justification. In modern times, you can see this in high-pressure interviews or debates. The individuals who remain composed, who do not scramble to explain every accusation, are the ones who appear strongest. They are not always the loudest, but they are almost always the most respected. The irony is clear. We defend ourselves because we think it will protect our image, yet it often destroys the very respect we seek. We think words will make us strong, yet they expose our fear. The real power lies in restraint, in not taking the bait, in refusing to hand your peace to someone else. By now, you may recognize moments in your own life when you fell into the trap of self-justification. Maybe it was during a conflict with a partner where you tried to prove you were not selfish. Maybe it was at work where you explained endlessly why you missed a deadline. Or maybe it was with friends when you tried to convince them that your decisions were right. Each time, you probably walked away feeling drained instead of respected. The lesson is simple but powerful. Stop defending and start observing. When you resist the urge to justify, you preserve your dignity. When you stay calm instead of rushing to explain, you signal confidence. And when you focus on your actions instead of your arguments, you regain control of the story. This is why defending yourself is a mistake. It costs you peace, it weakens your authority, and it feeds the very attack you wanted to escape. Recognizing this trap is the first step toward breaking it, and once you break it, you open the door to a stronger way of living, one where silence, questions, and action become your shield. Lesson 1: Using silence to regain control. Now it is time to look at one of the most surprising and powerful tools you already have: Silence. Most people underestimate silence. They see it as empty, weak, or awkward, but in truth, silence can be one of the strongest ways to regain control in difficult situations. Think about the last time someone criticized you. Maybe a coworker said you were lazy, or a family member said you were selfish. Your instinct was probably to reply right away, to defend yourself, or explain why they were wrong. But imagine if, instead of rushing into words, you stayed calm, looked at them, and said nothing. That silence would change the entire energy of the conversation. Suddenly, the other person is left hanging. They expected a fight, but there is none. They expected you to prove yourself, but you refuse. In that quiet moment, the power shifts back to you. Why does silence work so well? First, it creates uncertainty in the mind of the critic. Human beings are uncomfortable with silence, especially after throwing out an attack. When you do not reply, they start to feel uneasy. They may wonder, did I go too far? Why is he not reacting? Why is she so calm? That discomfort grows heavier with every second you remain quiet. What was meant to weaken you now begins to weaken them. Second, silence shows strength. In a world where everyone reacts instantly, the person who can stay calm and quiet stands out. People notice. They see composure. They see control. They see someone who is not easily shaken. This is why leaders often pause before answering hard questions. The pause itself becomes a message. It tells everyone, I am not afraid. I will not be rushed. I am in control. Let us take a real example. Imagine you are in a team meeting and a colleague says, you are not pulling your weight on this project. Most people would jump in quickly. That is not true. I worked late every night this week. But instead, you pause, take a slow breath, and remain silent for a moment. You look at the person calmly, maybe even with a slight smile, and wait. That short silence will feel long to them. The rest of the group will notice that you are not reacting emotionally. When you finally choose to speak, your words will carry more weight because they are not rushed or defensive. Psychologists have studied this effect. Silence in communication increases the impact of what comes next. It is like music. The pause between notes makes the melody stronger. In conversation, silence builds tension and focus. Another reason silence is powerful is that it gives you space to think. When you are attacked, emotions rise quickly. Anger, fear, and embarrassment cloud your judgment. If you speak too soon, you often regret your words later, but silence gives your brain a moment to catch up. In those few seconds, you can calm your breathing, slow your heartbeat, and choose a response that is wise instead of emotional. This simple pause can prevent arguments and help you maintain dignity. History also gives us examples of silence as a weapon. Mahatma Gandhi used silence as a practice of self-control. He often spent one day each week in total silence, even when facing criticism or pressure. By doing so, he showed that true power is not in constant words, but in calm restraint. In modern life, you do not need to be silent for a whole day, but you can use short moments of silence to show confidence and to control the direction of a conversation. Of course, silence is not always easy. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. You may worry that others will see you as weak or passive, but the truth is, when used with purpose, silence does not make you look weak. It makes you look strong. The key is to pair silence with confident body language. Keep your posture upright. Hold eye contact that is steady but not aggressive. Relax your shoulders. Breathe slowly. This combination turns silence into a statement. I am calm. I am not shaken. I am still in control. You can start practicing today. The next time someone criticizes you, do not rush to answer. Take a breath. Count to 3 in your mind. Let the silence hang for a moment. Notice how the other person reacts. Do they repeat themselves? Do they become nervous? Do they soften their tone? Very often, silence changes the energy more than words ever could. Over time, this habit will give you incredible confidence. You will no longer fear criticism because you know you do not have to fight every battle with words. You will realize that silence is not empty. It is full of power. It shows discipline, presence, and control. And most importantly, it keeps you from falling into the trap of endless explanations that only drain your energy. Practice it in small moments. Use it in daily conversations. Step by step, you will feel your confidence grow. And once you master the art of silence, you will be ready to add the next layer of strength, the ability to ask smart questions that turn the pressure back on the other person. Lesson 2. Asking questions to turn the pressure back. Silence creates space, shifts attention, and shows strength, but silence alone is not always enough. There are times when the conversation continues and the critic keeps pushing. What can you do then? One of the most powerful strategies is to respond with a question instead of an explanation. Asking a question may sound simple, but it completely changes the direction of the exchange. When you defend yourself, you are the one under pressure. But when you ask a question, you turn the spotlight back onto the other person. Suddenly, they must explain themselves. They must prove the weight of their words. The energy shifts, and you no longer look like someone scrambling to protect your image. You look calm, thoughtful, and in control. Let us look at a common example. Imagine a colleague tells you, "Your work on this project is terrible." The natural instinct is to reply, "No, that is not true. I worked really hard on this." But notice what happens if you ask instead, "What part of the project do you think is the biggest problem?" This simple question changes everything. Instead of you proving your worth, the critic now has to provide evidence. They may stumble, they may soften their words, or they may reveal a specific issue you can address directly. Either way, you have shifted the pressure back to them. Questions are powerful because they force people to slow down and think. Someone says, "You are lazy," or "You are selfish," without much thought. But when you reply with a calm question like, "Why do you think that?" or "Can you explain what you mean?" you are asking them to move from emotion to logic, and often when they try to explain, their attack becomes weaker. This method is not new. Great communicators throughout history have used it. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, was famous for asking questions that revealed truth. He rarely argued. He simply asked questions that made people think. In modern times, Oprah Winfrey has shown this skill in countless interviews. Instead of defending herself or debating, she often asks thoughtful, open questions. These questions encourage people to share their real thoughts, while Oprah maintains calm authority. Here is another everyday situation. Suppose your partner says, "You never listen to me." Instead of saying, "That is not true. I always listen," try asking, "Can you tell me a time when you felt I was not listening?" This question shows that you are open to understanding, not fighting. It takes the energy of attack and transforms it into dialogue. And even if the conversation is uncomfortable, you are no longer the one defending. You are leading the direction of the talk. There is also a psychological reason why questions work so well. When someone criticizes you, they expect resistance. They expect you to fight back or explain yourself. But a question is unexpected. It interrupts the pattern. The critic suddenly finds themselves on the other side of the conversation. Instead of controlling the situation, they must now respond to you. This surprise often softens their tone or even reveals that their words were not very solid in the first place. The key is to keep your questions short, calm, and neutral. Do not ask in an angry or sarcastic way, or it will sound like another argument. Instead, ask with genuine curiosity and a steady voice. Some good examples are: why do you see it that way? What do you mean by that? What exactly makes you feel this way? How did you come to that conclusion? Each of these questions is simple, clear, and powerful. They show that you are not afraid of the criticism. You are willing to hear more, but you are not rushing to defend yourself. Another benefit of questions is that they give you time. Just like silence, a question slows the pace of the exchange. While the other person is thinking about their answer, you have space to breathe, calm your emotions, and choose your next move. You are no longer on the defensive. You are guiding the rhythm. Of course, not every critic will respond fairly. Some may still try to attack, even after your question, but even then, your calm and curious approach will stand out to others around you. People respect those who do not lose their cool, and they especially respect those who turn conflict into thoughtful dialogue. You can practice this today. The next time someone criticizes you, resist the urge to explain. Instead, ask one short, clear question. Pay attention to how it changes the conversation. You may notice the critic becoming less aggressive or others in the room respecting your calm presence. Step by step, this practice will become natural. When combined with silence, questions become a powerful shield. First, you pause. Then, if needed, you ask. This combination keeps you in control without ever falling into the trap of defending yourself. It makes you look confident, thoughtful, and strong. The real power is not in winning every argument, but in refusing to play the game of constant defense. Lesson 3. Using body language to show confidence. Words are important, but often your body speaks louder than your mouth. People notice how you stand, how you move, how you look at them, and even how you breathe. These signals tell others whether you are confident or insecure, calm or nervous, strong or weak. Why is body language so important when dealing with criticism? Because before people hear your words, they read your presence. If your shoulders are low, your eyes avoid contact, or your voice is shaky, others will sense weakness no matter what you say. On the other hand, if you stand tall, hold steady eye contact, and speak with a calm, slow voice, people will feel your strength even if you say very little. Think about it like this. Confidence is not only something you feel inside, it is something you show outside. And when you show it clearly, others believe it, and you start to believe it even more yourself. Public figures often use body language to manage difficult moments. Elon Musk, for instance, is known for his calm posture during interviews, even when facing tough or critical questions. He usually keeps a straight back, steady gaze, and a voice that is measured rather than rushed. This body language makes him appear in control, even if the questions are uncomfortable. You can start practicing them in daily conversations. Here are some simple but powerful habits you can build. Stand tall and keep your posture open. Do not shrink your body. Imagine a string pulling you gently upward from the top of your head. This makes you look confident and also helps you breathe more easily. Maintain calm eye contact. Look at the person directly, but not aggressively. Steady eye contact communicates confidence, while avoiding eye contact often suggests guilt or insecurity. Control your voice. Speak slower than usual and use a lower tone if possible. A calm, steady voice carries authority. Speaking too fast makes you sound nervous. Use pauses. Do not rush to fill every silence. A short pause after a sentence makes your words stronger and gives you time to think. Keep your hands visible and relaxed. Hiding your hands, clenching your fists, or crossing your arms can make you appear closed or defensive. Open, relaxed hands show that you are in control. These small changes may seem simple, but they can transform how people see you. More importantly, they will change how you see yourself. When your body acts confident, your mind starts to follow. Psychologists call this embodied confidence. In other words, by moving like a confident person, you actually begin to feel more confident inside. Like any skill, body language needs practice. Start with small moments. When you enter a room, check your posture. When you speak, notice your speed and tone. When someone challenges you, remember to pause and breathe before answering. These small habits build over time until confidence becomes natural. So next time you face criticism, do not only think about what to say, think about how you stand, how you look, and how you breathe. Remember that people will notice your presence before they notice your words. With practice, your body language will speak confidence even when you say very little. And once you learn this, you will be ready for the next step, changing how you see criticism itself, not as a personal wound, but as a reflection of the other person's insecurity. Lesson 4. Seeing criticism as the other person's insecurity. Now let us look deeper into how you can change the way you see criticism itself. Many people believe criticism always says something about them, but in truth, criticism often says more about the critic than the person being judged. When someone attacks you with words like "you are lazy" or "you are arrogant," it feels personal. Your heart beats faster, your stomach tightens, and you may immediately feel the urge to defend yourself. But pause for a moment. Ask yourself, where do those words really come from? Often, they do not reflect your true character. They reflect the other person's feelings, fears, or disappointments. Think of it this way. People see the world through their own experiences, their own frustrations, and their own wounds. When they criticize you, they may simply be projecting their own struggles onto you. For example, someone who feels insecure about their own work may call you lazy to cover their fear of not being good enough. Someone who feels ignored may call you selfish to release their own frustration. The words they throw at you are often a mirror of their inner world, not an accurate picture of yours. This shift in perspective is powerful because it protects your peace. Instead of thinking, "there must be something wrong with me," you can think, "this person is revealing their insecurity." That small change in mindset turns an attack into information. It shows you something about them, not about you. This does not mean you should ignore all criticism. Some feedback is helpful and points to areas where you can grow. The key is to learn the difference between constructive feedback and insecure attacks. Constructive feedback is specific, kind, and aimed at helping you improve. Insecure attacks are vague, emotional, and designed to make you feel small. Once you see this difference, you can choose your response with wisdom. Psychologists call this ability emotional detachment. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop taking everything personally. By seeing criticism as the other person's projection, you free yourself from unnecessary pain. You protect your self-respect and save your energy for actions that truly matter. History gives us many examples of leaders who practiced this mindset. Nelson Mandela, during his long imprisonment, faced constant criticism from his enemies, but instead of letting it define him, he understood that their words came from fear of losing control. This perspective gave him the strength to remain calm and focused, eventually leading his country through a peaceful transition. Another useful way to handle criticism is through inner dialogue. When someone attacks you, silently remind yourself, "This is their story, not mine." These simple words act like a shield. They create distance between their emotion and your identity. Over time, this habit becomes automatic. Instead of reacting with anger or defense, you remain steady. Let us look at a workplace case. Your boss says, "You are not committed." If the words are based on real evidence, you can take them as feedback. But if they are said in frustration without reason, recognize that it may reflect their stress or fear of failure. By separating their insecurity from your reality, you keep your balance. You may still choose to improve, but you do not lose your confidence in the process. The beauty of this mindset is that it builds compassion. When you see criticism as a sign of insecurity, you stop seeing critics as enemies. Instead, you see them as people struggling with their own fears. This does not mean you let them walk over you. It means you no longer feel wounded by their words. You can stay calm, respond with dignity, and move forward without bitterness. Try practicing this today. The next time someone criticizes you, take a breath and ask yourself, "Is this about me or is this about them?" If it feels like an insecure attack, remind yourself that their words are a reflection of their inner struggle. Then choose a calm response or no response at all. By doing this, you will notice that their criticism loses its power over you. Lesson 5. Responding with action instead of words. When people criticize you, the first instinct is to reply and explain why they are wrong, but explanations rarely change anyone's mind. Actions do. Words can be doubted, but results are very hard to deny. This is why the most powerful response to unfair criticism is often not a long defense, but quiet, consistent performance that proves your value. Think about a moment in your own life when someone said, "You cannot do it." Perhaps it was a teacher telling you that you would not succeed in a subject, or a manager suggesting you were not ready for a big project, or even a family member who doubted your dreams. Your first reaction may have been to argue, but when you focused on your actions and showed through results that you could succeed, their words lost their power. The achievement itself became your strongest answer. History is filled with examples of people who responded to doubt through action. Steve Jobs is one of the clearest. In the early years of Apple, many people said his vision was unrealistic and that his products would fail. Jobs did not waste his energy fighting in endless debates. Instead, he and his team created groundbreaking products like the iPhone and the iPad. Those results changed the entire world of technology. His actions silenced every critic far more effectively than words could. Responding with action has another important benefit. It keeps your energy directed where it truly matters. Arguments drain you. They consume your emotions and leave you feeling empty. Actions build you. They give you progress, growth, and strength. Every time you invest energy in doing instead of defending, you become wiser and more capable. People may not always admit it, but deep inside, they cannot ignore results. This approach also builds your long-term reputation. When people notice that you are someone who delivers results instead of wasting time in endless explanations, they begin to trust you more. They may even stop criticizing you because they know your track record will answer for you. Over time, your name becomes connected with results, not excuses. Of course, actions take time. Results are not always immediate. That is why patience is required. You must trust the process. Each effort adds proof to your character. Each completed task becomes evidence, and little by little, the collection of your actions grows so strong that no words are needed. As the old saying goes, well done is better than well said. You can begin practicing this today. Choose one area in your life where you often feel the need to defend yourself. Instead of preparing arguments, prepare actions. If someone doubts your discipline, show up early and finish what you start. If someone doubts your ability, let your results shine. The secret is to trust yourself more than you trust the opinions of others. Responding with action means saying to yourself, I do not need to argue. My life will be my answer. And when you live this way, criticism loses its power. Your actions become your shield, your proof, and eventually your reputation. You become the strongest version of yourself. We have reached the end of this journey, but this is really the beginning for you. In this video, we explored the hidden trap of defending yourself and how it steals your strength. We also discovered tools that can protect your peace and give you real authority. Silence, asking smart questions, using confident body language, seeing criticism for what it really is, and finally proving yourself through action instead of words. These are not just tricks for single moments. Together, they form a way of living that can transform how you face the world. Think about how much energy you have lost in the past by defending yourself. Every time you argued or tried to prove your innocence, you gave away part of your confidence. Now you know there is a better way. Imagine yourself staying calm when attacked. You breathe deeply, you choose silence, and you refuse to panic. In that moment, you already feel stronger. The critic feels uncertain while you remain steady. Calmness alone is a kind of power. It sends the clear message that you cannot be broken easily. Next, picture yourself using questions. Instead of being dragged into someone else's argument, you guide the conversation. The critic must explain their own words while you remain calm. You are not reacting, you are leading. People around you notice this. They see that you are thoughtful and steady, not desperate for approval. This skill makes others respect you on a deeper level. Body language makes this presence even stronger. Before you even open your mouth, people read your posture, your eyes, and your tone. Standing tall, keeping steady eye contact, and speaking slowly shows authority without aggression. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to argue. Your body already says everything. With practice, this posture of confidence becomes natural and automatic. Another shift happens when you see criticism in a new way. Instead of carrying every word like a heavy weight, you recognize that many attacks are not about you at all. They are reflections of the critic's own fears and frustrations. This change in perspective protects your peace of mind. It allows you to walk away from negativity without letting it control your emotions. You save your energy for things that really matter. Finally, there is action. Actions are louder than any words. You can argue all day, but results are what people truly respect. When you deliver consistently, when you live with discipline and strength, you no longer need to explain yourself. Your life becomes your answer. Critics may doubt you at first, but over time, your results erase every doubt. As the old saying goes, well done is better than well said. Now, imagine the life you build if you practice all of these steps. The result is unshakable confidence and a reputation that protects you wherever you go. With confidence, you stop fearing judgment. You use your energy to grow and to build, not to defend. With reputation, you gain trust that shields you even when you are silent. People admire you, they respect you, and they hesitate to attack because they know your history of calmness and results will always speak louder than their words. Imagine the freedom of living without fear of judgment. Picture yourself walking into any room with calm confidence, knowing you do not need to defend yourself because your presence, your choices, and your actions already speak for you. That is the strength that inspires trust and respect. That is the kind of quiet power that makes you unshakable. The choice is in your hands. Thank you for joining us here at Fluent English with Radio. If this message touched you, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who needs encouragement. Leave a comment below and tell us which part of today's lesson you will apply in your own life. Stay connected with us because this is only the beginning of many more videos that will help you step into the strongest version of yourself.